Hi, this is James from Val White Marine. Today it's a how-to video. The boat behind me is an Intercruiser 29 and we have a very popular request from boat owners to ask us to make some content to give them the simple and quick way of taking down and putting up their canopies. So Chris is going to come along in a moment and give me a hand. We're going to give you a run through and show you the easiest way to do it on your Intercruiser 29. So I'm going to start the video with describing the different sections. The canopies on an Intercruiser 29, depending on the spec, but most of them have 4 canopy pieces. So working from the furthest forward on the boat, first of all we have the spray hood. So the seam of the spray hood just runs up here, running up the side of the boat there. That is all zipped together to the rear section, and you can be underway with that section in place. So that's that section there. Equally, you can have it down. If you do have it down, as we will show you, you can have it folded back. You don't actually have to remove it. There is framework to fold it onto. So that's section number 1, the spray hood. Then there's the aft section of the cruising canopy, which is this section here. So it's everything at the rear. The sides of this roll up and there are attachments there to attach it to. They are not removable, so they're just there's zips forward and aft. There's a zip there and there's a zip over there that rolls up and then straps at the top. So if you want to quickly go out on your boat, have fresh air but not take everything down, that's the easiest way to do it, is just to roll those up. So that's the second and main section, and that's totally removable. The third piece of material is the rear screen. So that rear section, we've got the door zipped up, but then that whole of that rear zips out. So if you had the sides up, you can take the rear out, and those are very quick things to do. So that just zips out and leaves you in an open but canopied section. And then the fourth thing is the bimini, which is sat up there on its framework at the moment. So you can have everything else off, but if it's a boiling hot sunny day, then you could fold that forward and enjoy the shade. So we're just going to start off a process by Chris just removing that rear that I mentioned a moment ago. It's very, very easy to get out. And as with any boat canopy, it's always worthwhile rolling that or folding it very neatly to minimise the number of folds in the plastic, which will ensure the longevity of it. I've got the rear out. That's a lovely way to be underway if the weather's a bit chilly. And then the next stage would be if you wanted the sides up, as I mentioned earlier. So Chris has just undone those 2 zips. So once again, just take a little bit of time. The neater you can get it, the better it'll protect the screen and the smaller the folded part will be. Chris is just reaching into the straps, which are on the inside of the canopy, the white strap, and then there's a simple fitting to attach that at the top. So a quick look at that interim stage now. That's all folded up. We've got the rear out, one side up. You can imagine the other side up. That's just a really nice way to go along the river without taking everything off. So next we're going to cover how to completely remove this rear section, which is actually much easier than it looks. We would first of all drop this down so it wasn't rolled up. Side zips up, both of them, and then start taking the poppers off and the straps, well, straps first and the poppers off the boat. And there is an internal zip on the rear frame there, up there, so you need to undo that zip. I would leave the canopy joined at the front centrally, a small section initially, just to keep the tension on it, and then when you're ready to take the whole thing off, unzip that and take the back off, which we will now do. So just because it gives a slightly better view, I've come inside the boat now, and as I said, we've dropped down that side as a start point. There's then that internal zip, which effectively detaches the canopy from the frame. So far we've got this side zip done up to here, open. Chris is just releasing everything at the back after that one. And then he's going to come forward and lift up that zip as well. So as I said earlier, we're just leaving that attached so that you have got a way of working with it. Now what we tend to do is to fold them over loosely on the boat and then take them ashore and fold them up the ground really neatly, because you can lay them out flat and get them lovely neat and stowed away in the lockers. Once Chris comes back, the next thing we're going to do is remove this hoop that supports the canopy frame. As you see, it's hinged there, so it's designed to lift out from here, and then it all folds up neatly, which allows you to get it down to a small enough space so that it stows in the underseat lockers. So we'll get that framework out next. It's probably something, if there are two of you, it's worthwhile having an extra pair of hands, but it's certainly doable with one person. But certainly the first few times, maybe it would be helpful to have an extra pair of hands so you don't damage your boat. So that lifts out and folds up as small as Chris will now show us. And that's designed to fit in these under-seat lockers quite easily, which means you don't have to find a separate space for it. So we're now going to give you a run through of how to neatly fold the front spray hood. Chris is just undoing the poppers that go onto the windscreen. They're pretty self-explanatory. And then we're going to try and set the camera up and do it together. We've set this up as a side view to try and show you easily, because this is the bit you really need to see. So poppers are off on the front of the windscreen, comes down to the side, and I've got more poppers here to remove. Our objective is that we're going to take the sides off, fold them over onto the roof, from the front windscreen onto the roof, and then that will allow us to create a roll onto the main part of the framework, which hopefully will come out in the video. So we've got the windscreen up onto the top flat, then we're going to fold these sides up onto the top flat. So your target is to have a flat canopy sat on the framework, then you can just fold it back neatly, get rid of all the lumps and bumps, and then fold that over onto the framework. And there is a cover that comes with the boat, which will then allow you to zip that in, keep it all neat and tidy, and be underway with it folded back. So we've got the cover out for that spray hood. So Chris is just going to fit that on, then we can show you another way to store this piece of the canopy. Okay, so we've secured the cover onto that spray hood on its frame, and Chris is just showing you there's two pins at the side, very easy to remove. And what that then allows you to do is tidy all that up and just have that sat on the front windscreen. And what that does is give you this lovely open boat. I'm just going to walk right back and give you the view forward. That is a beautiful way to be out on the river. So the final stage you can go to if you have got a lovely day, as we have got today, so it's hot, would be to have the bimini open. So Chris is just going to take the cover on that, and then we'll open it out and show you how it looks. So it's very easy, just take the cover off. The material will be rolled round the framework. So the first thing you need to do is just unroll the framework. Or on the flip side, if you're putting it away, make sure you get it folded down and then roll it back over the framework to put it away. You can easily do it as a one-man job. Just let that come forward. There's then securing tapes. There's no particular point that you attach those, but anywhere that works for you, and get that really tight, tension it up, and then if it's a windy, blustery day, that will stay in the same place. So for those really hot sunny days, this is probably your perfect setup. Spray hood completely collapsed, folded on the front screen, everything else off, and then the bimini set up. And on a 29, it is a really big bimini, so it's going to give shade for a good part of your group. Thanks, Chris. So now we're going to do everything in reverse. We've untethered the bimini from its leading edge, folded the framework back, rolled the material around the framework as I described earlier, and then zipped the cover on. Chris is now fitting the rear framework, which is what the rear section of the canopy zips onto. So that just unfolds and slots into those fittings. So next step is spray hood framework. Fold it over, and that'd be a case of putting the two pins in to hold it. Then we'll put the spray, now that's attached, we'll put the spray hood back in place and take the cover off. That stows away wherever you want. Like the bimini, the material's wrapped around the framework. That allows you to open that out. And then it's really simple. Chris is starting to pop her on the far side, and I'll probably assist on this side. So on the far side, the poppers around the windscreen frame are all on. Chris is just finishing off with the poppers on this side, and the final point is to put those straps on. So when it comes to putting the rear section on, the first thing to do is probably to put your folded canopy up on the roof, on the spray hood, and then look to line up the zips. So there's 2 zips in the center of the spray hood, which Chris will point out to us now because it's where he's working. Get the same 2 zips on the piece you're going to add on. Make sure they're lined up the right way around. Do them up a little bit, 1 each, and then once you've got those lined up and attached, just do those zips up a little bit, 15-20 centimeters, and that'll keep that in place while you put everything else on. So Chris is just going to, what he's going to do is probably roll that all open. And then loop it over that rear hoop, so that kind of gives him some form to work with. So what he'll be doing is looking for the internal zip and sleeve that goes over this pole. And once he's got that on, everything will stay in place. So you can see once you've got that internal zip on that it's very easy for things to start taking shape, putting the side zips down, and then it's going to be a simple case of putting like these side poppers on. Which is very difficult one-handed, and attaching these rear straps. If there is ever a point where the canopy feels too small or too tight and you're finding that the popper won't line up with the stud, as it can do sometimes, what you do is forget about the poppers for a minute, get the strap attached and use that to tension the canopy down, because you can put some tension on that and that will just bring the material into shape, and that usually allows the poppers to line up and takes all the battle out of it. So straight away now Chris has tightened that up, you can see there's no struggle getting the popper on at all. So that brings us to the end. It's probably a bit lengthy, but we've done our best to make this as short as possible and as informative as you can. Chris is just putting the rear screen back in. That does have 2 ways of going, it's fully in, but there is also this small door here so that you can just open that when you want to board the vessel. That's the end of today's how-to. If you have made it to the end, thank you for watching. If you've got any doubts or questions about things like this on your boat, please do contact us through our website or the link in the description below. There's going to be more of this kind of thing coming soon. We're very eager to make more content from you, so we'll get on with that as soon as we can. But what I would say is, yeah, if you're struggling, just call us, because we want you to be having a good experience. That's thank you from me, James, and Chris on the back of the boat. We'll see you soon. Thank you very much.